Thank you. Let's start again. So thank you. Good evening. We appreciate having you here this evening. I'm Virginia Green with the Family and Community Engagement Office, and I'll be your host this evening. To begin with, we will allow our translations department to invite those needing interpretation services to access the service. We have interpreters from the following languages: Spanish, Arabic, Burmese, and Swahili. We will now allow each interpreter to give brief instructions. Okay. All right, thank you very much. This evening, over the next 3 evenings, we will share valuable information that will help families return to in-person learning successfully. You may use the same link for each evening. First, I would like to introduce the Executive Director of Parent and Student Services, Dr. Liliana Valadez. You may use the same link for each evening. First, I would like to.
Good evening.
Director of Parent and Student Services.
For some reason, I can't start my video. However, I just wanted to say thank you. Welcome everybody tonight. Thank you for joining us for just another virtual family forum, as we had one last year as well. Our theme for this year explains it all. We're ready. And I want you to know that we are ready to welcome all of our students back to schools this year. We want you to be ready as well. One thing we learned over the last year is that virtual offerings make it easy for families to access much needed information as it pertains to getting ready for the start of school. You don't have to, you can wear comfy clothes, you can eat while you're watching. So it's just, why didn't we do this before the pandemic, right? So please just relax. Our goal is to engage you, educate you, and empower you to have a great school year. Bear with us as we deal with our technical difficulties, but we really want you to stay tuned tonight. We got some great presenters, and so you'll get much needed information to have a great start to the school year. So Happy New Year.
Here is a look at the topics that will be covered this evening. First, we will hear about the safety protocols that will be in place for the students' return. Then we will hear information about the new reset centers. And finally, we'll hear important information about attendance and truancy. But don't worry, if you miss a session, you can find the recordings of it on our webpage, dallasisd.org/family, beginning next week. Next, we will go over some basic etiquette. First, please submit all your questions on the chat or the questions section of the Zoom. We will do all of our best to answer each of the questions live, but if time allows, the presenter will take time to answer questions at the end of each session. Since we want to answer as many questions as possible, please limit the submissions to the topics being discussed. Thank you. Now to our first presentation. Our first presentation will be given by Assistant Superintendent Vince Reyes. Mr. Reyes will give information about the safety protocols that will be in place upon the student's return that includes classroom and safety protocols. Mr. Reyes?
Okay, good evening, everyone. I too, at this point, I'm not able to start my video, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to review the safety protocols that are in place for all of our schools as our students return. It is important to note that as much as allowable by the state of Texas, we are wanting to follow the CDC guidelines. As you know, in the state of Texas, there are some things that are not allowed. But here are the top 10 things we're going to cover this evening. Number one, safety is a priority. And so you'll want to make sure you'll check your school's start date. As you know, we have 3 different calendars. And so you want to make sure your students are starting on time. Masks are optional. However, we are going to recommend and refer people to CDC guidelines as much as possible. PPE, including masks and hand sanitizers, will be available at every campus. We will maintain 3 feet of social distancing and, where possible, the 6 feet. Hand washing and good hygiene is critical and highly recommended. And students and staff should check their temperatures. We're going to ask that all staff, visitors as well, self-screen before coming onto the campus. Vaccines will remain available for eligible staff and students. Again, as you may recall, throughout the school year last year, once the vaccines became available, we partnered to host them at various schools as well. Enhanced cleaning and ventilation will continue weekly. As you know, the disinfectant that we utilized lasts up to 90 days. However, our facilities and maintenance department will continue to disinfect on a weekly basis. Rapid testing is still available for students and staff. And of course, we're going to work with our Dallas County Health Department should we have to do some contact tracing for positive cases. Next slide, please. So here's our commitments. Number one, as we just talked about, is safety. Next slide, please. So and maintaining social distancing, cleaning and sanitizing, the PPE, supplying that, making sure all of our schools and all of our district facilities have those available for staff and students. Still following protocols on our campuses to make sure that we're able to maintain social distancing and have things in place to flow of traffic as students go to lunch and things like that. All those types of things will be maintained. Next slide, please. Social emotional needs, as our students and our teachers and our school staff come back from this past school year, we have to make sure that the social emotional needs are met, that there's opportunities for students to engage in valuable lessons and various interventions around the social emotional needs, especially as we return to in-person instruction and our students come back. We want to make sure that our SEL needs, as we call it, social emotional learning, is occurring on our campuses. Next slide, please. And we want to continue to strive to be provide a premier urban education for all of our students. The curriculum that has been adopted, the resources that are in place for our students is unparalleled. Have had the opportunity to be in Dallas ISD for going on 26 years and just seeing the amazing resources and tools and curricular resources that are available for our teachers and our students is exciting to see. And it's going to be critical so that we can, catch up, if you will, over this past school year and mitigate that learning loss that may have occurred. Next slide, please. High quality instruction is critical, and the face-to-face model, as we continue to see reports and the different research that went on this past year, is that, that face-to-face instruction is critical. Again, but face-to-face instruction with safety measures definitely in place. Next slide, please. Technology. That's one of the things that we learned from the pandemic, is that there's amazing technology to make sure that our students, our teachers, our staff are well connected, as well as other opportunities to learn from the various programs and the various software that are available for all of our students pre-K-12 here in the district. Next slide, please. Commitment 6 is professional development for staff. This includes a 1-hour training that all campus staff will complete on our campus safety protocols, so that we're very clear about the requirements that we can ask our campuses to put in place. Next slide, please. And finally, our final commitment is two-way communication. Having meetings like this with our community, having meetings like this with our campus staff and with our students as well, so that we can continue to be an informed citizenry, especially as it pertains to safety, especially as it pertains right now to COVID-19. Next slide, please. We will keep things, in mind around, possible outbreaks and things like that. We will have procedures in place should we have any type of closure. We hope to avoid something like this as we return to in-person instruction. Next slide, please. And to recap our approach to safety. Next slide. Cleaning, sanitizing, and disinfecting. Health screening and preventative hygiene, especially self-screening. Maintaining the physical and social distancing of at least 3 feet and where possible 6 feet. And of course, communication, training, and coordination amongst all stakeholder groups, especially our family and our students. Next slide, please. So just a reminder about some self-screening for our campus visitors. You know, you're very familiar with the list here. If you exhibit any of the symptoms, we ask that you stay safe first and foremost, and not attend. You know, come onto the campus, and you know, it's critical that you take care of yourself and self-screen. Next slide, please. So what we'll have as far as our response teams and campus safety supplies. Next slide, please. So cleaning, sanitizing, and disinfecting. And we'll emphasize this over and over again, weekly cleaning, disinfecting, cleaning is daily, sanitizing is daily, disinfecting is daily, but the mass blast of disinfectant will continue to occur weekly. Right now, our facilities and maintenance department is looking at doing this on Saturdays to make sure that kids and staff are in a safe environment. Next slide, please. Again, the air filters is a critical piece of the cleaning and sanitizing and disinfecting, and making sure that those air filters are in place and changed on a more frequent basis. Next slide, please. So taking care in lobby and common areas, the water fountains and the physical distancing. Students, again, and of course staff will be allowed to fill their water bottles and things like that. And we will, especially in common areas, maintain to the extent possible, not just the 3 feet, but possibly the 6 feet of social distancing. Next slide, please. Of course, school nurses play a critical role in helping us with this safety work. And again, they will continue to be a key player on the campuses. We'll provide safety updates as well. We'll make sure that staff and students are informed of vaccination opportunities, as well as testing opportunities for students and staff. Next slide, please. So the next 2 slides cover what happens if we have students that what we call the spitting incidences or things like that. And there are discipline procedures in place for students that do something like this. And we'll monitor that and notify parents and all those things should something like this happen. Next slide, please. So over this past summer, our facilities and maintenance department have been absolutely working, you know, to get every campus ready for the return of school here. For some next week, you know, the summer cleaning covered every aspect of the campus, from the restroom to the auditoriums to the hallways to the cafeterias, and of course our classrooms. Next slide, please. For our students and our coaches or sponsors or directors that participate in extracurricular and co-curricular activities, the same effort for safety will continue. Again, the one area that is different is that we can't mandate masks. Again, we're gonna keep pointing everyone to CDC guidelines and recommendations. Of course we are, and we're gonna recommend that staff, students, families look at those CDC guidelines as it pertains to mask wearing. And so that when we go to the next slide, we'll see that our athletic programs, our marching band, our dance, our drill will continue to clean instruments, will continue to clean the weight benches. Athletic areas will continue to get all the PPE equipment, hand sanitizers. Masks will be made readily available for all staff and students. Safety protocols will be in place where the student athletes or the marching band enter and exit. All those types of things we're going to keep in place. We want to keep the safety protocols that helped us make it through last year and will help us make it through this upcoming school year. We, you know, other than being able to mandate masks, all that other cleaning and disinfecting will continue. Next slide, please. And again, this just continues to reassure you, our families, our parents, our key stakeholders about the importance of maintaining the protocols that we had in place for sanitizing and disinfecting and cleaning instruments and things like that. Next slide, please. Additional information. Students will not share costumes or uniforms. They will not share, football jerseys or things like that. So all those things will remain in place. Next slide, please. And the technology needs, again, we're making sure by grade span that our students have the available technology that they need to be successful in the classroom. Again, this will help us in, with the return to in-person instruction. Utilization of technology is critical for small group instruction, for some acceleration as needed. Students can now have, since they have a device, can access, excuse me, more programs, more resources, softwares, as they continue to learn and improve. Next slide, please. So we're ready. We're excited about the return of in-person instruction. We had our principal kickoff summit this morning, and our principals are excited and energized about seeing our families back on campus, about seeing our volunteers back on campus and visitors, all around the same safety protocols that we want to maintain and implement district-wide. The entire handbook will be posted on the We're Ready website, which is, again, you see there, dallasISD.org/ready. And we will update as needed. We will also provide additional resources and other information that's available as it becomes available for us. We'll continue to update the We're Ready webpage. Next slide, please. And that concludes the safety presentation. I will take any questions or comments. Again, safety is the #1 priority for all of us, staff, our teachers, our principals, and our students. It's critical. Again, as you know, our hands are tied with the mandate of masks. But however, please know that we're going to continue to point to CDC guideline recommendations as it pertains to mask wearing, hygiene, disinfecting, all those types of things as our students and our teachers return to in-person instruction. We're excited about the opportunity with in-person instruction to begin to help your students get back on track, with learning and the excitement of school and everything that goes on with our kids. We had a great close of the school year for our seniors. Last year, we were able to open up senior activities and really made it possible for our seniors to really go out with a bang, including in-person graduations. So we're excited to continue that, that trend as you saw with those of you that had seniors last year. We were able to really do some cool stuff and do it safely. And we anticipate to be able to do a lot of cool stuff this upcoming school year and do it safely. So I'll take questions or comments.
Okay, Mr. Reyes, we have a few more questions that are on our question board from the panel. So one of the questions is, how will students who test positive honor quarantine with no virtual learning available?
Well, if they are quarantined, we will have the opportunity for them to connect virtually.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question is, how many students will there be to a classroom?
Well, it definitely depends on the size of the classroom. But again, we are asking for the minimum of 3 feet social distancing to be taken into account. And so that will help. We're also asking our campuses to leave in place plexiglass So that in addition, that will help. And then we will also require that our teachers maintain seating charts. And of course, the seating charts are critical should there be a positive test for the contact tracing.
Okay, we have a couple more. Are vaccines going to be mandated for each student?
We cannot mandate vaccines for each student. However, please note that there are still plenty of opportunities for our age eligible students, our staff, our families to get vaccinated. We cannot mandate vaccinations.
Okay, and the last question we have here is, will students that wear masks be socially distanced?
We're going to ask that all of our schools maintain at least the minimum of 3 feet. It's a plus if the students wear a mask, in our opinion. It's a plus for everyone involved. Again, we're going to continue to point to the CDC guidelines, CDC recommendations, even some that just came out this afternoon around whether you're vaccinated or not, around mask wearing. Again, in the state of Texas, public education, we cannot mandate mask wearing. And when students wear a mask, we still ask that they stay 3 foot social distance where possible.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Reyes. And any questions that are not answered this evening, we will record them and make sure that they get answered for you sometime within the next week. We're fortunate enough to have Mr. Reyes once more to present once more. And this time in this session, he will share information about the reset centers that will be initiated in some of our campuses. Mr. Reyes?
Okay, good evening once again. Really excited to present this information on our Redefine discipline policy here in Dallas ISD. It's monumental work. It's work that is getting national attention, and it's also good for our students. And so we look forward to implementing our Reset Center work this school year. Many of you, of course, are familiar with our national data, our state data, our local data, and it really is our moral imperative as educators, and even just our moral imperative as human beings to recognize that there is some data that we've had for many years that shows that many of our students, specifically our African-American students, are overrepresented in suspensions and classroom removals. And so this is a case for change, this data, again, a moral imperative as well, but it's also an opportunity for growth, especially in the areas of mental health and behavior management, and to build the skills that will help all of our students be successful later on in life as they pursue jobs and careers. Next slide, please. So it's going to take a holistic approach. The district supports this. We're excited that our Board of Trustees and our superintendent approved the new discipline policies and procedures in June. And so we're excited at the campus level. It's going to take a deconstruction of a current mindset, which is punitive. And we're looking more at developing a campus climate and culture that is more empathetic and keeps our kids in the classroom. It really is an issue of equity. If a student is outside of the classroom, obviously they don't have access to the instruction. And in this particular case, if our students of color are out of the classroom, it becomes a matter of equity, especially when the disproportionate data that we see indicates not only being outside of the classroom, but it also indicates that our students are not performing academically at the level we want them to be performing. And we're going to continue to get feedback as we go through this process. There's an amazing array of supports for our schools, everything from our mental health supports to the resources that are being provided to our schools. training, 160 hours worth of training that Reset Center coordinators are going to have to undergo. Our Reset Center coordinators will be located on our 52 comprehensive campuses, middle school and high school, and then our elementary and magnet and LTI schools will, in the near future, receive some additional resources and supports. Next slide, please. I want to make sure that our families, our parents, our stakeholders that are on this clearly understand that there's a difference between the discipline work we're doing around suspensions versus the discipline work that is still in place for removals. The elimination of suspensions only applies to the level 1 and level 2 infractions. Those are the lower level infractions that a student might do in the classroom. And so those are the level 1 and level 2 are what I call like the spit wad infractions, where a student is shooting a spit wad at another kid or something like that. And in the past, they were sent to ISS for 3 days or things like that. The student might be sent to the Reset Center, might be sent to the counselor, the teacher. We prefer that the teacher handle it, of course. But for those types of infractions, we want to make sure that the student understands what they did. They have to do that, but that we keep them in the classroom. And here's the difference. Level 3 and level 4 offenses require a mandatory removal from the campuses to an alternative site. That is law, and that is not the discipline work that we are engaged in. And of course, level 3 and level 4 offenses are your more egregious offenses. We want to make sure that our families understand that redefining suspensions is not an unfunded, unsupported mandate. Our Board of Trustees committed dollars to this initiative, including allowing us to hire 52 Reset Center coordinators for our comprehensive middle schools and high schools. It is not a green light for inappropriate student behavior. There are going to still be consequences for disruption. However, the difference is if a student continues to exhibit disruptive behaviors, that student is going to get the additional supports, whether it's something where it's some social emotional support, some mental health support, some academic enrichment support. There's something that student needs. That student does not need to be kicked out of the classroom for 3 days or sent home for 3 days, and that issue is never addressed. And so we want to make sure that our teachers and our families know that this is not a green light for inappropriate student behavior. And then, of course, the other thing is the Reset Centers at our comprehensive schools. It is not for our special ed placement. It is not a way for a special education student to be removed from the classroom. That will not be something that the Reset Centers will condone. Next slide, please. So again, what it is, it's an opportunity for our students. It's an opportunity for our campus cultures. It's an opportunity for our classroom culture to address behaviors, to improve behaviors, to recognize that as we address those behaviors and improve those behaviors, it's only going to lead to what we believe is academic improvement. Academic improvement then, of course, leads to much greater things as our students graduate and pursue a college or career. Again, it is not a new name for ISS. Now, ISS is gone. There is no in-school suspensions, pre-K-12 whatsoever. It's not there's no such thing as ISS anymore in Dallas ISD. And it is not a hangout room for students just to go hang out and find a way to get out of the classroom. We have to understand that that there has to be a place for our students to get redirected. There has to be a place where our teachers know that a student that is continuing to exhibit disruptive behaviors in the classroom can receive support so that they can return back to the classroom. And that's a critical piece to this work, is keeping our kids in the classroom and helping our teachers with professional development around key strategies for supporting students as they need to be redirected if their behavior is not appropriate for the classroom or the hallway setting or the cafeteria setting, wherever the student might be. Next slide, please. So what will you find in the reset room? You'll see special seating for what we call restorative circles, restorative practices, so that students can dialogue, can share. The Reset Center coordinator can assist with helping students with situations that they're struggling with, especially in situations where they're struggling with another student or multiple students. You know, the Reset Center coordinators will be trained on all the restorative practices and restorative circles so that they can help our students and get them back in the classroom. You'll see in our Reset Centers intentional use of calming colors so that, you know, the brain research and all that good stuff that we study around what helps de-escalate situations. One of the things is the colors of the walls, you know, and having some calming colors helps with that. Because of technology, our students will continue to get the academic supports that they need. They'll get, the Reset Centers will have fidgety tools and things like that, and spinners and all those things that sometimes help with de-escalating, you know, when situations arise. And then, you know, you see the special seating, the bean bags, the taller desks, the different chairs that our students can sit at and de-escalate. And one of the things that we've learned in researching this, and you know, this work, I've been involved with this work around Reset Centers and doing away with ISS since about 2015, and visiting some other school districts that have tried similar attempts or have had attempted this type of work. We even saw cases where some of the teachers or some of the school staff were coming in, you know, during their break just to, you know, relax for a little bit before they went on to their next class. So we're excited about the whole campus improvement that can occur by addressing student behaviors in a non-punitive measure and making sure that they have a safe environment where they can share their what they're struggling with or the supports that they might need, or they might even just need access to certain resources. And when they feel that safety and they're comfortable, we know that the campus environment is just critical to for the social emotional well-being of our students and our families. Next slide, please. So our next steps are continuing to communicate this at district level, such as tonight with our families. We've been in several meetings going back to, I want to say maybe even December, when we started dialoguing and gathering feedback. And that's a key piece to this work as we implement our reset work. Again, our reset work is pre-K-12. It's at our comprehensive middle schools and high schools, the 52 comprehensive middle schools and high schools that will receive the additional Reset Center coordinator. And then the rest of our schools will still receive the training. Will still receive at some point, we anticipate the resources for example, the elementary schools. Oh, and by the way, our elementary school started this work of 2 or 3 years ago when the Board of Trustees eliminated suspensions for our early learning grades. And so this is not something new to our elementary schools, and they've done a great job with it thus far. But we want to make sure that they still receive training, all the training that the 52 comprehensive schools are going to receive. That's going to be available to our other schools. We're asking our elementaries and our non-comprehensive schools to identify reset teams so that we can make sure that they receive all the same information that everyone else is receiving and the supports. And the supports for our reset work involves several departments across our divisions. And, we have our school leadership department, we have our teaching and learning department, we have our chief of staff department, our discipline office, our parent and family community engagement department, our social emotional learning department, our human capital management department, who helped us identify who the Reset Center coordinators would be for the 52 comprehensive schools. And so it's a district level effort. Like I said, it's gathering national attention. We're going to continue to get feedback. We'll identify a couple of things. We'll have, of course, a working group that we meet weekly, every Wednesday afternoon, to discuss the things that are going on. Of course, we have our Student Code of Conduct Task Force, which is composed of our executive directors and principals. And then we'll also have a Reset Center advisory group, which will be composed of our executive directors, principals, teachers, counselors, and community members. So that's critical to the feedback, and we'll meet with them quarterly this upcoming school year to present data, get feedback on that data, so that we make sure that all of our stakeholders are involved in the conversation around the reset work moving forward. This past summer, or I guess it's already past summer, since several of you will be going back to school next week. We engaged a group of teachers and counselors to also help develop classroom guides to help our teachers with behavior management techniques in the classroom. And so we're excited about sharing that work as well. Next slide, please. And that concludes my presentations, and I'll take any questions.
Okay, Mr. Reyes, we have a couple of questions about the Reset Centers. However, we have a lot more questions from your last presentation, so do you mind answering some of those as well?
I do not mind.
Okay, thank you. So for the Reset Centers, what acts of suspensions will send a student to the Reset Center?
Yeah, so what will send them to the Reset Center are the types of things where it's ongoing disruption of the classroom. So let's say they continue to interrupt the teacher, and the teacher pulls the student out and says, hey, what's going on? All that. They get the kid back in the classroom, and they go back on. But then the student continues to perform disruptive behavior. It's at that point then that the teacher can ask or refer the student either to the counselor, depending on what the behavior is, and or to the Reset Center. Again, as I mentioned, the teacher guides that a group of counselors and teachers have developed are aimed at making sure every effort is made to keep the kid in the classroom before they're referred to the counselor or to the Reset Center.
Okay, thank you.
And let me add real quick also on the consequences. We're still saying you can have, after school, before school detention, lunchtime detention, those types of things. The whole point is to keep the kid in the classroom during the school day, though.
Okay, thank you. The next question on the Reset Centers, will all the schools have them?
No, it's just our 52 comprehensive middle schools and high schools. And the reason we did that is our comprehensive middle schools and high schools are the schools that, based on data, have the highest number of suspension rates. And so our elementary schools, like I said, they've engaged in doing away with suspensions for about 2 or 3 years now. And then our magnet schools and our transformation and innovation schools have very low incidence numbers as it relates to student behavior.
Thank you. So the following questions related to your last presentation. And parents, just a quick reminder, we're going to answer as many questions as we can, but we are keeping note of all the questions so that we can answer the rest of them after the virtual parent family forum. The next question is, will you keep the plexiglass in the cafeterias when already implemented?
Yes, we're asking our schools to leave the plexiglass in place. We know that there were some campuses that were wanting to go ahead and start to remove the plexiglass. We're asking them not to. And in fact, if a campus decides to remove some plexiglass, they're going to have to find a place to store it because our facility, the maintenance department, will not pick it up. Again, we're stressing to our schools, let's leave every safety protocol in place that we've used.
Okay. How close will the students' desk be from each other in the elementary level?
we're asking for the minimum of the 3-foot social distancing.
Okay. How will you strengthen protocols in elementary schools versus high schools since the younger students can't be vaccinated?
Yeah, and that goes back to our, what the work that our elementary schools did last year, so that everyone knows here, and I'm sure you know the person asking the question, our elementary schools had several, but the highest percentage of kids return to in-person instruction, this past year. And so our elementary schools, and as they have for years, right, have routines and protocols in place, the arrows on the floor, walk, one, single file line, maintain 3-foot social distancing, all those types of protocols are still going to be in place, all of our schools. But we know that our elementary schools, it seems like forever, but especially this past year, did a magnificent job of implementing the safety protocols, especially as they had the highest percentage of students that were returned to in-person instruction this past year.
Okay, thank you. So what happens if a student or family member gets COVID? Will they have to be quarantined with the same protocols be held in place?
Yes, so we'll follow the Dallas County guidelines as far as it relates to a positive test. All that information will be published in the parent handbook, safety protocol handbook, and contact information as well for any questions that you have around that. But we're going to follow all the recommendations as it pertains to a positive test.
Okay. With the increased risk of Delta variant happening all over the country, will we be able to offer virtual options if that happens?
At this point, we are returning to in-person instruction. We do have in place, as I shared in one of the slides, around closure. That will be, again, we'll take every,
Okay.
we'll follow all the guidance around that. If there were to be an outbreak, absolutely, we're going to be smart about that. If there's a major outbreak at a campus or something like that, and we'll take it out campus by campus. But yeah, we understand the Delta variant, and we understand here in Dallas, the spike. Like I said, the thing that we cannot do is mandate the mask, because that is not something that public schools are allowed to mandate. But everything else, we'll take it. We'll follow CDC guidelines. We'll follow our Dallas County guidelines. But yeah, no, we'll take into account on a case-by-case situation should there be some type of outbreak.
Are there any special protocols for special needs classrooms?
Yes. So the protocols that were put in place last year around the cleaning and the hygiene, and the extra gloves and everything that would be needed in a special education unit, we're asking our schools, hey, we got to keep following these protocols and these guidelines for the safety of both the special needs student as well as the teacher and/or teacher assistants that are supporting those kids.
Will teachers be required to wear masks?
We cannot require anyone. We can't require anyone at all to wear a mask. All we can say is, hey, the science says wear a mask. CDC guidelines say wear a mask. But then after that, it's incumbent upon that person to decide if they're going to wear a mask or not, unless we hear otherwise from the state of Texas.
Okay, thank you. So one more question. Let's see. I keep jumping. Will there be information distributed about the reset centers? This is concerning to me, and she wants more information to understand what is involved and what triggers this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Again, this is an ongoing effort. Several of you probably on this meeting saw me throughout the school year as I did multiple community meetings and family meetings. That's one of the things that I've committed to, and we've committed to as a district, is to provide ongoing information around the reset work. So it's a monumental work, it's critical work, and it's something that we're very excited about. So you'll be seeing me throughout the school year presenting, not just presenting, but getting feedback, getting ideas, those kinds of things. hearing the stories that are going on out there around the reset work. And so, yeah, absolutely. The additional information is always readily available.
Thank you. And we have one more question, Mr. Reyes, and this goes back to the first presentation. Gentleman saw on the news that that was stating that coronavirus students would be checked for coronavirus without parent permission.
No.
Can you speak to that, please?
No, ma'am, that is not accurate. We could not do that. Everything we do with our students, as many of you know, require parental consent, and so unfortunately, that's inaccurate. That's an inaccurate report.
Okay. Well, so basically, most of the questions we are recording all these questions to make sure that they get answered. Thank you, Mr. Reyes, for that information, and we appreciate your time.
Absolutely, anytime.
Thank you. Okay, and now we're on to our final presentation for the evening. And I'd like to introduce Ms. Veronica Lara and Stephanie McVeigh from our Parent Services Department. And they will present information on the importance of attendance. Ladies.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us and staying with us this evening. We are very, very excited to be here. My name is Veronica and my coworker, Stephanie. I think she's going to unmute herself in a second.
Yes, do apologize.
Hey, everyone. So again, thank you so much. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started because this is why we do what we do. So we are going to talk about working together to improve attendance. And we want to talk about 5 main points. We want to talk about first and foremost, the Texas compulsory attendance law. So these are not our rules. These are not suggestions that we make up. This is a state law. And again, why attendance matters. Some facts about school attendance, parents as partners in academic success, and what we can all do to continue to improve student attendance. Okay, so next slide, please. All right, so this is the core of what we do, the Texas compulsory law. Okay, so who shall attend school? So state law requires children to attend school each day that instruction is provided. The law applies to children ages 6 through the age of 19. If you voluntarily enroll your child in pre-kindergarten or kindergarten before the age of 6, school attendance laws also apply to your child. A person or student who voluntarily enrolls or attends school after the age of 19 is also required to attend school for the entire period of instruction. Okay, so why does attendance matter? Let's go through that. I think we all kind of know some basics, but just some good reminders as we're going back 100% in person. So attendance matters. So let's define what is the difference between what we consider satisfactory and poor attendance, okay? Kiddos that have 9 or less absences for the entire school year, and typically our school year is about 9 to 10 months. So about 9 or less is considered pretty good because we know that kiddos are gonna get sick. Things are gonna happen, that's considered satisfactory. But then our students who have 10 or 17 absences for the year, they begin to exhibit warning signs for potential attendance issues. And then we've got our highest tier of student absences. These are students that have 18 or more absences. These students tend to exhibit chronic attendance issues. Now, and again, these numbers are based on a traditional school calendar, okay? So that's kind of the breakdown of what's considered satisfactory and poor attendance. Okay, next slide. So why does attendance matter? Now that we've defined it's a law, we've defined the difference between satisfactory and chronic absences. So here are a few things that we're going to go over. So whether those absences are excused or unexcused At the end of the day, the student still has lost some instructional time that cannot be recuperated. Our chronic absenteeism, which was 10 to 18 or more, can lead to frustration for our students. And we know that research shows that our students who attend school regularly are more likely to graduate. Our students that are chronically absent, even if they miss a day or two every week, that really does start to add up. Kiddos that attend school regularly, not only are they more likely to graduate, but they also feel that they're engaged, they're a part of their campus culture, and they're more likely to feel better about their academics and the goals that they're reaching and about school itself. The absences can also be a sign that the student is losing interest in school, struggling with schoolwork, or some other difficulties. So absences really do start to tell us a story. Poor attendance is not just about those unexcused absences. Remember that also excused absences can also affect our students' academic performance as well. Okay, so here are some, I think we already went through that. Okay, so some more facts about school attendance. Okay, excessive absences in the very first month of school, which for us is August, September, can predict poor attendance throughout the school year. So that's why there's such a big push to re-engage our students and our families, especially back to in-person after these 18 months of uncertainty that we've had. Over 8 million students in the US miss nearly a month of school. That's a lot of kiddos, and a month is a long, long time, a lot of time away from the classroom. Poor attendance also influences whether students can read proficiently by 3rd grade. And for those of you that know, and many of our parents are aware, 3rd grade is that critical time where we start taking that STAR test for reading, okay? When our students improve their attendance, they also improve their academic prospects. If they're present, we're going to do whatever we can to make sure that we maintain their engagement and work with the families and students. When attendance improves, our schools are able to engage the students and the parents in positive ways. And that's one of the reasons why we're here, is we want to make sure that we continue that trend, even if we're doing these things virtually. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, chronic absenteeism, which again, 18 plus absences, often is an early indicator of our potential dropout students. Every minute matters, even when our students are present, but they're coming in late. That starts to add up. That can add up to 33 hours missed of instructional time. That is a lot of time if students are just coming in a few minutes late. That time really starts to add up. Our research shows that students who are chronically absent have an 81% chance of reading below grade level. So that means 8 out of 10 kids probably are not reading at grade level when they've got 18 plus absences. When our students improve their attendance rates, they also improve their chances of graduating. Again, just making sure that we're connecting students. School attendance rates are better in schools where parents feel welcomed and engaged, and where they trust their children are safe. And again, that's one of the reasons why we are having this big push to reconnect with our families, because we want you to feel safe and comfortable, because we too are parents. So we're also sending our kiddos back, and we want to know as parents and as staff that we're doing everything possible to make sure that we're engaging and re-engaging our students and getting prepared for face-to-face instruction. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is where you guys come in. So our parents as partners in academic success. Okay, so we need you guys. We have always said you are that secret recipe. You are what makes this work. You are what connects us to your student, to our student. So we really do see you guys as essential partners in promoting great attendance, because we know that bottom line is we receive them from you. every day. So we know that you are the ones that are getting them ready. You're having those positive conversations about attendance. You're asking questions. And a lot of times you guys are letting us know, my student is struggling. My student feels that they need tutoring. So, we want to continue that even more so now that we're going to be returning face to face, because this is so essential that we continue this partnership and really just continue to work together and bond even more to make sure that we can get our students ready for the next chapter in their life, Okay, next slide, please. So what can we do right now to improve attendance? So make sure that you are familiar with your student's calendar. I believe in one of the previous links that Mr. Reyes showed us, you can look up your child's school and it'll tell you what calendar they fall under, okay? Whenever possible, try to schedule appointments for your student before, after school, or during one of their days off. We know that's not always possible. Sometimes specialists don't work around our parent or school schedules, but whenever you can, try to make those appointments around their school time when they're off, okay? Be involved in your child's school. There is such a push with social media, and we're also making sure that all our schools have their websites updated. If you don't get a phone call, a school messenger from the district or from your child's school at least once every 2 weeks, call the school, find out what's going on, because I promise you, lots of things are happening in our school district and on your child's campus. Talk to your student. If your kiddos are anything like mine, they're going to say everything's fine, everything's great, I'm a great kid. And while they are, we still need to be asking, how was your day? Who was there? What did you do? Ask questions, I know sometimes, when we're really busy, it's so easy to say, okay, well, everything's fine. I haven't gotten a phone call. We still want to keep talking to our students, even more so now that they're going back in. Make sure that if you have questions or concerns, reach out to the teacher, reach out to the counselor, reach out to an administrator. If you think that maybe your student is maybe needs a little bit more help, you're seeing that they're struggling with some homework or class assignments that they're doing at home, please make sure that you communicate with us. Our phone numbers are updated. We always want to speak with our families. So please make sure that you are consistently communicating with the school, so that way we can get ahead of the concern before the student feels like they might be drowning, okay? And make sure that your student is there all day, every day, and on time, okay? Next slide, please. All right. Again, just make sure that you're working and you're communicating with the campus. We also have a lot of social workers in various central departments throughout the district that we partner with our schools so that if there's an issue or concern that might be outside of the scope of the campus, we're going to be able to work with you guys as well. Now, knowing that, we also understand that sometimes it's just as simple as tutoring. Sometimes it may be a little bit more. So we do have not only DISD partners within our school district, but we also work with our city and community resources, because we know that even if the issue isn't related to academics or anything necessarily going on at campus, but maybe something going on in the neighborhood or some concerns that you might have, we know that our students bring that with them, their concerns. So we do partner with the city and our DISD community. So please let us know so that we can see what connections can be made, okay? Lastly, something that I believe was launched this school year, and it's been pretty successful, is a new app called Let's Talk. It's an online customer service tool. It's available 24/7. I know for a fact it's available because we get some of those parents' concerns. So yes, it does work. Someone does read your concerns, and yes, we will follow up with you to make sure that you are getting the questions to your answers or the answers to your questions, and making sure that you're speaking to the appropriate department, So please make sure that if you have any questions or concerns, if you can't communicate or the campus is not able to assist you, please use this app. And again, we get those, so please know that we will be reaching out to you. Okay, next slide. And again, because we're in a social media time, please connect with us. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, any other social media platform you can think of. If we're not on there, we're going to get on there. We definitely like to highlight things that are going on in our district, but we also like to highlight things that we are that are happening with our schools, and celebrate and recognize our students and our parents for all that you do. Because without you, we wouldn't be here. So please make sure that you connect with us, keep us posted, follow us, and we will certainly follow you guys. So this has been short and sweet. Now, does anybody have any questions for us?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We have some questions here, and I'll read
Yes.
it to you so that you can answer. Is an absent missing one class or missing an entire day?
So in elementary student, attendance is taken one time. So for elementary, it would be a day. For middle and high school, where they have various teachers, the absence of one period would be one, okay? If that makes any sense. So we wouldn't say they're absent all day, but they were most definitely absent one or two periods if that's how the attendance looks.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. So, I'm sorry, they just keep jumping around here. You answered a question for someone for ECSE. Do you have a contact person that she can speak with?
For
About attendance for the early childhood ECSE?
Yes, I just told her she can contact her campus, or she can contact the college that her student is going to be attending as well.
Okay.
I just sent that in the chat.
Okay.
Okay.
How are doctor's appointments handled as far as attendance is concerned?
So obviously, if your student has an appointment during the school day, obviously you're welcome to either pick them up, take them, bring them back, or leave early or come in late. Just bring us that excuse note from the doctor, and that's all. We do like to encourage our parents to maybe make a copy, because I know a lot of times we're,
I can't hear
rushing
you.
from place to place. We give our student the note. Sometimes it gets to the attendance office, sometimes it doesn't. So if they've got a copy, and after you're checking your child's attendance, if you see that, hey, where's the note? How come this absence hasn't been cleared up?
I can't
You've got a
make
copy
that.
just in case it didn't get there.
Now, I just
many-
want to chime in as well. I'm sorry, Virginia,
Okay.
to let them know too,
Okay.
attendance for credit is totally different as well, because state law requires students to attend school 90% of the time when they're in school. So this prevents them from going to truancy if they submit an excuse note, brings us a doctor's note, dental, or anything of those natures that can help them and prevent them from going to truancy.
Thank you. How many absences per class equals one day?
So even for middle and high school, because they have multiple teachers taking attendance daily, even if they have one absence, let's say they did not attend first period, that absence would be counted as far as possibly filing a truancy case. So if during the school year, parents, students receive those warning notices, they do encourage you to monitor your attendance, but you can also reach out to us. And if we can't answer your specific school questions, then we will redirect you back to the campus, but we're going to do our best to provide a name and a contact that can assist with attendance questions.
Okay, great. And I have one more question. Can you speak to the differences between an excused and an unexcused absence? I know that there have been new parents who get confused, that they think that is unexcused absence still qualifies them for perfect attendance.
Okay, so typically we think of excused absences as giving a good or valid reason for not being there. So obviously, if your child was sick, you write a note or you bring a doctor's note. That's a good reason for being absent. That's an excuse that would be excused. If they have an appointment with a specialist, you can bring in that note. That would be excused. If the student is needing to appear in court, any type of court where they're asked to be present, likewise, the court can provide the parent with an excuse note for the student, and you can bring that in, and that would be excused. The things that we probably would not be able to excuse, or rather the campus would not be able to excuse, would be if you are extending your Memorial Day weekend, or getting your driver's license. That's something that the campus probably would not be able to excuse. But anything where the student needs to be present, is asked to be present, or needs to be absent, then those will likely be excused. And again, we do ask that you make a copy, check the attendance weekly. School years go by so fast. So this way, if you notice that it was excused or was not, you can follow up. And if the note didn't get to the attendance office, you've got your extra copy. You don't have to call the court, or you don't have to call the doctor's office again. You've got that extra copy that you can make sure gets to the attendance office. And now what's so great is we've all, because of social distancing, you can even reach out to your campus, just get the correct contact name and email, and you can even email those excuse notes.
Okay, thank you. I tricked you. I have one more.
All
I have a
right.
parent who's asking if she has to leave Dallas on an emergency, how would you count the absences if she doesn't have anyone with who to leave her children with?
Absolutely. So being a parent of little ones, we can all relate to that. What I would do is communicate with your campus administrator. I know a lot of times parents, because we're speaking directly with the teacher, we've got more contact with them, especially daily. Communicate with the administrator. The administrator is going to be the person that you want to let know, this is what's happening. Obviously my kiddos are little, they're going to need to travel with me. This is what's occurring. And the administrator will let you know if they can work with you and if they're going to need any documentation. Okay. All the teacher can really do is say, thank you so much for letting me know he's going to be out. Let me see if I can get a work packet for you. And they're great, but the administrators are ultimately the ones that have the final say so, and they can be very specific and tell you what they can work with you on and what, if any, documentation may be needed to support excusing that absence.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, ladies. That's very well presented, and
Absolutely.
we appreciate that information. Okay, so that concludes our first evening of the virtual family forum. We would like to thank all of our presenters for their presentations, and thanks especially to all our families who have logged on this evening. Now, remember, if you missed any of these presentations or would like to see them again, they will be made available on our webpage, dallasisd.org/family, beginning next week. One more thing, before you log off, kindly take a few minutes to complete the survey. Please use the QR code or the link that we will type in the chat section. Your input is very important to us, and it helps us to develop more programs that will be more beneficial to you. So please take a few minutes to fill that out, and I'll put the link up in a few minutes. But before that, I'm going to give you topics for tomorrow. We'll be logging on the same time, and you can use the same link. The first topic will be student transportation. The second will be issues and complaint, the resolution process for school-related concerns, and COVID fatigue, how to get our students prepared to come back in person. So again, use the same link for that and the same QR code, and we'll be posting this. This is our survey link. We'll put that link in our chat, or you can use the QR code. After you fill out the survey, you're free to log off and join us back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Thank you, everyone, and have a good evening.